I reckon I must have passed over this shoe 10 times and just discarded it. Not interested, not my kind of thing. It's just your standard, simple Nike Air Jordan 1 Low. I don't think we need to be talking about that. But then, I was kind of struggling for content today. We've had some great shoes coming out recently with over the last few weeks, especially with the Air Max line, when the March the 26th coming around the corner, a ton of shoes dropping. But there's a bit of kind of dried up a little bit, struggling to find shoes. So I had to re-look at shoes and say, which one I'm going to talk about. Go back to these, actually take a look at it, realise it's a mismatched shoe. I thought it was just a purple Air Jordan 1 Low, but it turns out it's a mismatch, and the left and right shoes have distinct differences on them, and I was really, really surprised to see that. I'm very happy to see it because it makes this an absolutely cracking shoe. So we're going to get into it today and look at it from an interesting perspective. We'll take it with a look at the same. What is it that the left and the right shoe have exactly the same? And then we'll get into the differences that make the upcoming release of the Nike Air Jordan 1 Low Purple Magenta a cracking shoe. This is the Tokyo Bada 23 Sneaker Channel. Tokyo Bada 23 Sneaker Channelです。毎日アップするので毎日見てください。And every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news and sneaker reviews. And today we've got an Air Jordan 1 Low in the spotlight, and I'm kind of relieved. I was kind of like, ooh, have I said the wrong thing? A few weeks ago I said at the channel, I said, you know what? The Air Jordan 1 Lows are going to have a huge year. It's going to be a big year for the Air Jordan 1 Lows. And then the very next one that comes along, I'm kind of like, that's not so interesting. I'm kind of, have I made a mistake? Have I called it wrong? And then when I finally did take a proper look at the shoe, I called it right, and I just assumed the wrong thing. Maybe I should assume positive intent instead of assuming that something's gone wrong. And so these guys are actually a lot finer and a lot cooler than I thought they were. And I'm going to go through them the way I usually go through shoes, bit by bit, looking at the details on there. And that means I'm going to get to the heel and the wings logo quite late in the video. But I've got a thing about them, and I'd like to kind of bring that forward, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to break my routine. But when I do get to that wings logo, I'll be asking you guys out there if it's a trick wings logo, because I think there's something about it that is actually different from what it looks like. So we'll get into that after we've gotten through this, the rest of the shoe, and looked at those similarities and those differences between the two shoes, between the left and the right shoe. So basically what we're talking about is the left shoe is purple and the right shoe is Magenta. Magenta. It's funny that I would mess up the name like that, because one of the things I wanted to say in this video is I'm not good with colors. I'm good with like the basic colors like blue, yellow, green, but when it gets off of basic colors and into things like, what's the difference between magenta, lilac, violet, and purple? And I'm kind of like, So if I mess up the colors or call something wrong, 1,000 apologies, but it's going to happen. But that aside, I can pretty confidently say the left shoe is purple and the right shoe is magenta. The only reason I can actually say that is because I know the left shoe is purple, so the other one has to be magenta. It's not because I know what magenta is. So let's get into that, and we'll do it the way I said that we would, which is talking about the things that are the same first, and then the things that are different second. So first things first, I'm going to focus on the Georgetown blue. Now that's me. Don't look anywhere for, is that Georgetown blue? Don't go looking for that on the internet or anything like that. That's just me because of these guys right here. I'm shooting this video on Thursday night. It'll probably go up on Saturday. And Saturday, or it might go up tomorrow on Friday, but anyway, that's not important. The important thing is that the Georgetown 3s are coming out on Saturday, and it looks very much like the blue on these guys, which we'll get into in a minute. And I'm really seriously thinking about going after those Georgetown 3s. I'm not a wealthy man, so don't go after sneakers every single day, but when I do, they're very choice, and those Georgetown 3s are absolutely gorgeous to me. And it's me, not Nike, not Sneaker News, not Kicks on Fire. It's me personally that's drawing a line between those Georgetown 3s and the blue that wraps around the front edge of these shoes on both the left and the right shoes. It runs up the quarter line on both the left and the right shoes, and it runs along the lace stays on both the left and the right shoes. But it stops there. Often in Jordan 1 Lows and also Dunks, that line will continue down to the ankle and the heel, but it doesn't, and we'll get into that in a bit. But basically, toe box, quarter line, lace stays, beautiful deep Georgetown blue on those guys, and then also with that you've got the laces in Georgetown blue as well. And then the final place in that blue is the same. There's also white similarities, we'll get to them in a minute, is around the tongue, the edge of the tongue. If you have a good close look on both pairs, you can see it's that deep blue, Georgetown blue on there. And then we have to get into what's white on the shoes, because that's also the same things, and then after that we'll get into those differences that I talked about. And since we're up there on that tongue and looking at the edge of the tongue in dark blue on both shoes. Might as well look at the tongue itself, and it looks like it's a straight up white tongue on both shoes, but it's not. Hidden in there is a white embroidered Jumpman on both tongues as well. So it does look like just a snowy white plain tongue, but actually it houses a white Jumpman, which is lost in there, but it's kind of cool in a way as well. But it's the same on the left and right shoes. Kind of questioning why they didn't go with magenta Jumpman on the right and purple Jumpman on the left, but you know, that's a tiny detail from me. And then, but staying with that white theme, if we come down to the midfoot on whichever shoe it is, you'll see behind the swoosh you've got that white panel on there, and then dropping even further down you get to the midsole, and it's white on both shoes as well. So you've got kind of 3 hits of the deep dark blue on the shoe, with that kind of line that runs up from the toe through the lace stays, the laces themselves and around the tongue, and then 3 hits of white starting with the tongue itself down to the midfoot and into the midsole. So that's the similarities between the shoes, but then you get to the differences, and it really is the differences that make the difference on this shoe. So let's get into that first and foremost. So first, the bits that make up the colorway of the shoe. It's the purple, I nearly said lilac, see, I told you. It's the purple magenta, and the purple comes into these guys, or the magenta, in the same 3 places. So let's take a look at that as we run front to back on the shoe, and we'll start with the toe box and the panel on there. Whichever one you want to look at, you can see that it's in purple on the left shoe and it's in magenta on the right, and then you travel back from that and get to the swoosh on the side of these guys, which again is in the signature colorway, and then back in towards that highest part of the ankle section, but not the lowest part of the heel, because this is where things get a little bit dodgy. Now, I want to be simple, and I'm wrong to be simple, but I want to be simple anyway, in saying that the purple kind of fades to blue and the magenta kind of fades to pink. So if we have a look on the insoles of these guys, you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. And you can see the purple one has a lot of blue going on in there, but then you've also got a lot of pink going on the magenta ones, and that kind of works. And it also works with the Jumpmans that are on the inside of the insole on those guys. But if you stay there and have a look at the lining of these guys, you can see it's kind of a unique lining. It's a little bit out of place with the rest of the shoe, but then it balances out a different place, which is the outsoles on these guys. And you can see that popping yellow outsole. It's kind of like a Volt yellow on the left shoe, and then a kind of pink faded yellow on the right shoe. So there's kind of a similarity there. But then you get round to the heel, and you see that the heel cup has been treated in a slightly different way again. So whereas you've got the purple and the blue, and then a kind of light blue on the heel of the purple ones, and then the magenta and the pink, for some reason it jumps to orange. I'm sure there's some kind of color coding that means something, you know, that you've gone so many degrees off of purple to get to blue, to get to light blue, so many degrees off of magenta to get to pink, and then the next, you know, increment takes you into orange. I don't know my colors that well, like I said, but I'm sure it makes sense to somebody artistic out there. But finally, we've got to that wings logo that I was talking about. Now, here's the question, and it's a doozy. You know what I'm saying? The wings logo, beautiful feature, always on the back of Air Jordan 1s, higher up on Air Jordan 1 mids and Air Jordan 1 highs, but in the case of lows, across the back here. Now, here's what I believe, and I might be wrong, but if I'm not, I think it's kind of cool. I think that this these wings logos on the back of both shoes are in an identical color of stitching. I'm saying the color of stitching on the wings logo on the right shoe is the same color of stitching as the wings logo on the left shoe, which looks ridiculous. Because when you're looking at the heel as we are right now, and on the left shoe, which should be behind me here, hopefully, it looks like the stitching on the wings logo is lighter than on the right shoe. That looks darker. But I think that's a function of the color it's on top of. I think the base color under it, orange on the right and light blue on the left, gives a different feel to the stitching color that's on top of it. And I think if you could find a way, just like pull the stitches out, for example, but find a way to look at those 2 wings logos without looking at the back, without looking at the background and the heel cups on there that are changing up the colors, you'd find that the actual thread they used is an identical thread. So it's just my take, it's just my perspective on it. I might be wrong, but I'd love to know from you guys in the comments down below if you either agree with me and think, wow, that's an interesting look, or you actually know for a fact. That would be cool to know in the comments down in the comments. So let us know. The last thing to do is go back around to the front and have a look at the laces, because I'd never really picked up on this point before, but this 23 in the lace stay in the middle of, not the lace stay, the lace loop in the middle of the laces there is a cool feature on these guys. If I remember rightly, it's black stitching on black leather up there. That's a cool little feature. And it's those kind of little details that I love to see in shoes. So it just tops off what I thought was a very boring shoe, but it turns out to be much, much more interesting than I'd expected. Hopefully you guys have appreciated that look at today's shoe, which was the Nike Air Jordan 1 Low Purple and Magenta. Great looking shoe. Lots of details, lots of interesting stuff in there. So hopefully that is something you appreciate. But for now, it's time for me just to do what I do at the end of every single video, which is remind you that I do this every single day. And that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.